Perfect start. Beautiful start. Gateway Scout seems fine, especially in gold. You never know what these people will be up to. Nicely done. 17 gas. I like this. I like what I'm seeing so far. Probes. I like this a lot, man. Beautiful start so far. Don't love mining gas here, but you know, if you're basing it, I really think you can be. Normally with this build, Henrik, you don't start mining gas till after you take your expansion, but the 19x is coming down. I love that. I love that. But just in future reference, you really should be mining gas after the Nexus goes down, but almost perfect. See, now your Cybernetics core is a little bit later, and this Reaper probably is going to be quite annoying. But we'll see. We'll see. Probes. For future reference, it should be, you're close. You're very close, Hungry. But, you know, these are just things to get weeded out, if you can remember. So if you can, gas after Pylon, or gas after Nexus, but the opener was right. Gate, gas, Nexus, on those times you had that correct. But you should not be minus, and then it should be second gas, and then your Pylon should come a little bit later. You should be making, you should be making 2 more probes, and your Pylon should be coming at about 21 supply. Just a little future reference, should be gas before your second Pylon. Not a huge deal though. Not a huge deal. This Reaper is gonna, nothing started. So this is just one of those. Oh my god. Reaper gets 1 kill, and just when you think just when I think I know it, I don't know it. Okay, proxy robo. Let's see what you're working here. Also, in general, you should not be. Transferring workers. It was. I forget exactly who looked it up, but it's not efficient to be doing that. You should just be getting 16 on one base, and then double rallying over here and mining there. Just for future reference, we are going for some sort of robo. Is this like some sort of all-in? It looks like. You're having a similar issue as well to our buddy Doug, where you're making a little bit too many pylons, right? You're getting oversupplied, which is not as efficient, right? You could have more probes being made, you could have more gateways. So just consider, you know, what you're doing there. So I guess I don't really understand, you know, where the direction that your build is going here. This Terran seems like he's got a pretty good build. So we're going for an immortal push. I mean, I just don't like. Okay, so one, I think it's okay to be doing builds like this, but you know, it's kind of hard because I don't really do this, you know, a certain all-in like this. But it's just like this type of an all-in against Terran is not that good with Stalkers. It's not that good, at least on this map. Maybe it's good on a better on a different map. But you don't have many gates. You know, you're on 2 gateways, 3 gateways, and you can't really go up a ramp with Stalkers. So I would consider not really doing this in this map. It just doesn't seem like it's gonna pay off very much. And I don't really like the proxy. I just don't really like the build, honestly, in my opinion. I would much rather see just kind of a, you know, a robo. Even just if you did all this stuff at home, I'd like this a little bit more. And you've kind of cut workers, right? If we look at the economy, you're up 3 workers, but he's got mules. You don't have your second gas, and you are getting disruptors, but your robo is so far away that you can't really, you know, use it much. You know, you did get the observer because, you know, we're Protoss, and oh god, this foot of mine is gonna be tough. But you did get the observer, right? So you did kind of see it, but this is just going to be kind of tough for you. I would just kind of consider, in general, I'm pretty sure I improved this proxy. You might have. And, you know, you probably know more about this proxy than I do, right? The one thing I would recommend with this proxy, I guess you're getting +1 because you want the adepts to be one-shotting. The Widowmine is going to be so painful here, though. So, like, if you had the robo at home, this wouldn't have been a big deal. Oh, it's going to hurt. 8 workers. See, like you might have done a better proxy than this, right? Because he doesn't have a whole lot at home. These drops are so painful, though. You know, I. Oh no. Okay, hungry. So, to me, this probably isn't the best replay for you to watch because I'm sure this, taking 20 workers of damage happens to you almost never, or at least not often. But I do want to say a couple things about your build. It's fine to do cheese, and I love the fact that it's different. It's something I wouldn't do, but there's some things I'd like to point out about this your cheese here, right? So in general, when you're committing to a cheese, consider the maps. I don't know if it's as good on a map like this. Yeah, you can break the ramp and maybe push up. I'm dying. But consider you got this forge for +1. Okay, seems okay. But the only reason you would get +1 is because you want the adepts to be two-shotting marines. But he's got combat shields, so it wouldn't matter. But they'd be two-shotting workers. So I would rather see this build in the future, man. If you want to go for this robo push with 2 immortals, get some sentries, get some adepts, and then immortals. I think that's a lot better in the early game. Is immortals and adepts, and maybe just a couple of stalkers. And also, I would cut the forge completely and make more gateways. Because look at your build here, right? You don't have a twilight, which is whatever. If you're all-inning, you might not want a twilight. But let's say you are going for an all-in general. You got to look at it and say, okay, your base and what you're doing, because what I'm trying to get at is your base and what you're doing and kind of telling me 2 stories, right? I see this proxy and I say, okay, you're getting really aggressive, and I look at your base and you have 3 gateways. If you're gonna go for an all-in, go up to 6, 7 gateways, and you have the forge, right? A forge tells me, okay, it's probably gonna go for more of a macro style. I would say, cut the forge out as well. Just go for the robos with the immortals, and then a push. Right, you're gonna get a disruptor or something here. I think you can also Colossus all-in, pay to win. Okay, this is important. It's pay to win Colossus. But I would recommend you could also do this without the Colossus, without the Robo Bay, and just a bunch of gateways, and just attack with 2 immortals, 3 immortals, and 2 sentries and a bunch of adepts. And I think it will work, arguably more often than what you got going on here. I mean, you've kind of lost the game here when you've lost this many workers to Widow Mines. I mean, this is actually hurting my heart a little bit. I can't look. Right, and your army is somewhat strong, but imagine if you had adepts here and stuff like that, or sentries to force field. I think so either consider 2 things, hungry. I mean, the rest of the game is the rest of the game. I mean, you're down 45 workers. I don't know how this goes on for 7 more minutes, honestly. Right, I mean, you're basically dead right now, honestly. You're basically dead. So this is my general things to take away from this is, remember your opener. It goes gateway, it goes pylon, gateway, gas, nexus, second gateway, or core, then second gas, then second pylon. You got your second pylon a little early. Try to be careful making too many pylons, right? You did just lose some supply, so it's not as big. But try to lean one way or the other, right? So now you take a third base. And it's kind of okay, where is this build going, right? Maybe consider trying a different build. Maybe consider opening Blink Stalker more often and just keeping all second your base and just opening Blink Stalker with some observers. I would try that as well. It's gonna be uncomfortable for a bit, right? Because it's not a build you may normally do. Maybe you do this proxy robo bay every single game versus Terran, which is fine. You can do whatever you want. But consider trying it. Trying a different build. Maybe you do like Blink Stalker. Maybe you try opening with a Blink Stalker build and you like it more than what you do right now. I don't know. I just recommend trying other things as well because I don't know how efficient your build is. Maybe look at the game of my, I just did of Doug's or where it's more of a Blink Stalker Sentry, Blink Stalker Robo type of opener where you can get an open Robo and then go into Twilight and get kind of Blink Stalkers, some observers, then go into your Colossus and then go into your Storm. Or if you're going for a cheese, let's say you want to do this cheese more often, man. Consider it, man. What story do you want to tell, right? If you're gonna go for cheese. Go for cheese. Go for it. Go for it all the way, man. Make 8 gateways. Make 6 gateways here, right? You only made 3 gateways, and you're going for an all-in. You should be on a bunch of gateways. I would cut the forge, and I would even cut the Colossus if it's me, and just go for an immortal push. Hit a little bit faster, a little bit quicker, and I would cut the observer, or make the observer initially, and just bring it back to your base, because you don't really need the scout. You're going for an all-in. What you see doesn't really change what you're going for. You know what I mean? So consider that. Consider committing more to the all-in if you're going to go for it. Just go for it. Say, I'm not going for the forge. I don't really care. I'm going all-in. I'm not going for the robo. I'm on it a little bit faster. So those are things I would consider with your build, right? Because you take this third, you're on 20 workers. You can't really even afford 2 bases right now. You know, that's the Widow Mines obviously being annoying, right? So I'm sure this doesn't happen every game. Of course, I understand that, but those are things I consider. Also, you know, just like everyone else, man, more vision. I mean, you're doing an all-in, so it's a little bit different. But you know, there was while you're up here, right? He could have just ran across the middle of the map and gotten to your base. So consider, you know, I guess you had the observer here, so maybe take that back. But vision, vision, vision. Like right now, you know, you're here. You are right here, but you know, he could be anywhere on this entire map. You got two observers, one here, one here. You know, bring your observer here. Better vision. Maybe try to clean up your opening build, and you know, just decide what you want to go. If you want to go macro, go for the Twilight, go for the observers, get blink, kind of play defensive, get your AoE up, get 3 bases, and just go attack. You know, just go attack. And if you want to go for an all-in, make a bunch of gateways and attack. You know, you can do whatever you want, but make sure you're trying to tell the same story. You don't want to be like, okay, well, I'm gonna go for this all-in, but I'm gonna if it doesn't work, I'm gonna fall back on this base because it doesn't really work like that. Right, you know, if you're coming in, if you're gonna go for, you know, if you want to get a third, and that just could have been because you're floating, but you only have 3 gates, so you can only warp in a whole heck of a lot. So it's like, well, you know, if this doesn't work, I'm gonna take a third. If you're gonna go for an all-in, go for an all-in. If they hold, you lose. But you know, at least it's gonna be a much stronger all-in if you actually commit.